If we want to connect the gospel to Matthew the Apostle, here's the best way to do it. So another way around these problems is to suggest that Matthew did write down a list of Jesus' sayings in Aramaic. So Papias is right. There were a list of sayings of Jesus in Aramaic by Matthew the Apostle. These sayings were possessed by the communities that Matthew was involved with, that he led, that he taught. Maybe these were copied and spread throughout other communities, but they were available to communities of Christians. Eventually, a disciple of Matthew, or maybe someone who just had this list of sayings that Matthew wrote, took the list, took the Gospel of Mark that had been circulated by this point, and other sources, maybe other eyewitnesses, maybe Q that we've talked about before and we'll talk about in future episodes, took together all these sources, much like Luke says that he did, went and did all of this research, and composed the Greek gospel that we have today, which is more complete than any of these sources on their own. And so what that would mean is we can trace some of the sayings back to Matthew, but not all of it, that someone took these sayings that Matthew the Apostle wrote down, they took the Gospel of Mark, they took other sources like we know that Luke did, and brought those together and wrote the Greek gospel that we have. One thing that might be in support of this is that the things that are unique to the Gospel of Matthew, that are not found in Mark and that are not found in Luke, those unique sayings tend to be in the teaching sections of Jesus. So in Matthew, there are 5 teaching sections of Jesus, which mirror the 5 books of the law or the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy, because something that Matthew is doing is he's connecting Jesus to Moses. And so the unique portions of Matthew tend to be found in those 5 teaching sections. And so they tend to be sayings of Jesus, which could lend credence to, well, maybe there was a sayings gospel that Matthew the Apostle wrote. Maybe that was used in the composition of Matthew, which is why we get this unique Matthean material in the sayings of Jesus. It's a possibility. I think it's a bit of a stretch, and we'll talk about this as we continue through, just because, again, we're having to kind of create these kind of grandiose scenarios that go beyond a lot of the evidence that we have. Again, that's not to say that's not the case. Something happened that gave us this gospel. And so we kind of have to go beyond, at some point, the historical evidence we have to come up with some scenario. But again, is this the simplest and easiest scenario? Is it the most likely? I'm not